Good morning, everyone. Hi, Renee. Let's add you on. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are
How
you
are you?
doing, Renee?
Good. Good to see you.
You too. You too. Almost at the end of the week.
Well, at the end of my week, I'm planning to have tomorrow as a day off, so it feels like Friday to me. Now I'm
Nice.
just thinking I probably look a little bit dark, don't I? But I've got as much light as I can around me, so hopefully it's okay.
It looks
I'm not
good. It
feeling
looks
like
good. We can see you. And we can hear
I'm
you. That's what's really important.
okay. Sounds good.
Wonderful. So we
Yeah.
have people joining us. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for being here today to talk to us, Renee. I also want to let the audience know that we also have Mandy Geddes online who will be moderating this morning's conversation. So if you have any questions, you can pop them on the comment box below and she will respond to your questions. And if there are any questions that we've overlooked, or if you think of any questions at the end of the conversation, feel free to drop us a message on our DMs and we'll certainly get back to you. So thank you, Mandy, for doing that. And Renee, again, thank you so much for being here. For those who might not know Renee, although everybody knows Renee, Renee is one of, she's been with IECL since 2009. She is currently our Director of Coaching Programs. And, I think since your tenure, I guess since 2009, Renee, you've really had such a positive impact at IECL. You've really helped craft the organization as a center of excellence for organizational coaching and leadership across Asia Pacific region. In terms of your expertise, I guess they include a lot of things, but certainly not limited to what I'm about to mention. You're part of delivering ICF accredited coach training programs. You're one of ICL faculty members. You have undertaken coaching engagements yourself with leaders at all levels across a range of industries and sectors. You're responsible for overseeing large-scale coaching program delivery, including coach selection and onboarding through to evaluation and measurement. You're consulting on organizational coaching, leadership development, and culture change initiatives, including building internal coaching capability and fostering coaching cultures, and so much more. There are so many achievements. I don't know which ones to mention, so I might just stop there for the sake of time. You're certainly one of our highly experienced coaches at IECL, and your coaching style has been described as warm and highly supportive, whilst also challenging and thought provoking. You're known for creating a safe space in coaching, allowing your counterparts to be vulnerable and open to learning. And more importantly, your counterparts describe you as a very result focused, caring, and intuitive coach. You're also, the list goes on and on and on. You're also the
Getting a bit
host of
awkward.
the, I love it. This is why I had to have this conversation with you. You're also the IECL podcast host, the Coachcast
Oh, yeah.
series.
We
And now
come
we get to
together
see the
creating
face behind that amazing voice. And I've turned the tables for a change. You're in the hot
that.
seat, and I'm going to be asking the questions. I'm
Okay.
really, really excited to be talking to you today about all things coaching. Um, Obviously, as an organization who provides coaching services, we know that coaching has such a positive impact on individuals and organizations. I think what's really been interesting for us to observe is that even with the significant downturn as a result of the pandemic in the recent months, we're seeing an increase in uptake in coaching engagements by organizations for their leaders and teams. I think more specifically, I'd like to refer to some tangible results that we've seen in our evaluation data over the past few months. And what we're hearing from leaders and organizations is that as a result of engaging coaches from IECO, they've seen significant improvements in performance and well-being in their people. They've seen greater shifts in progress on goals. Well-being scores are up. Leaders coached are left feeling more optimistic, more relaxed, more able to deal with problems well, and they're a lot more clear about the road ahead. They're seeing improvement in their relationship with their teams and co-workers. And more importantly, our NPS scores is off the charts, where it's well above 80, which is really a phenomenal achievement. So these are just a few highlights that I wanted to sort of share. So with this in mind, let's start this conversation. Why coaching is a leader's superpower, Renee?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big call, isn't it? But I think if we were to think of a superpower being something that is, it's pretty special, it's an exceptional ability that allows you to do some pretty amazing things, then I absolutely do think that coaching fits that criteria. So, and I think the way that I look at that would be, and there's lots of lenses that we could look at that through, but I think the two main lenses or applications that I think of coaching being a superpower for is when we see leaders being on the receiving end, so being that counterpart and the recipient of coaching in a formal sense in a series of sessions, and why is that linked to being a sort of a superpower. And then secondly, the other lens or application would be when leaders take a coaching approach themselves. So, I think both of those applications have superpower qualities. And if we look at the first scenario where leaders receive high quality coaching, then we want to be clear that it's not the coach who's the superpower. Absolutely not. It's the superpower is what comes when leaders choose to do something pretty extraordinary with that coaching opportunity. And so we hear lots and lots of wonderful stories all the time, directly as coaches, but we also, hear a lot of those, hear a lot of the feedback via our clients who, the leaders go back and sort of share the details of what that experience has been like for them. They share that back internally, but also we see it in the comments that come through in our coaching evaluation, when we conduct that pre and post. And I think, there's one quote that I know I think we included in our the coaching impact report that you referred to a moment ago when we shared some of the data. There's a quote from one of the leaders. I think, love to share it now because I think it really talks to why coaching is a superpower. And there was one of the counterparts, a senior leader, who said, deeper relationships at home, this is the benefits of coaching for him. So deeper relationships at home, both as a husband and as a father, deeper connections with new and existing professional relationships. I'm making better decisions for better reason, and I'm benefiting from this in terms of the time back and peace with the outcomes. And he goes on to say, I'm a lot less concerned about the things I can't control. I have a calm and confident view of the future, and I'm excited about why I do what I do.
Wow.
So in terms of leadership, that to me, if we're able to create a relationship, a coaching relationship and a coaching engagement that produces those sorts of outcomes, then to me, that's a leader walking away with a superpower that impacts, just impacts every facet of his life. And the ripple effect of that's felt by, as you get a sense from what he shared there, it's felt by those around him at work, but it's also felt by, the family and friends and, potentially that broader community and beyond. So, leaders do work on a range of different focus areas that they bring to coaching, or that they're challenged to, by their coach in that early stage of the coaching engagement, to get clear on, well, what's the best use of our time here? What are going to be the things that are the right things for you to be focusing on? And it's a huge range of focus areas. And, what it doesn't really matter what they focus on, but we know, as you said a moment ago, when they focus on something that's really important to them and important to their business, crucially important to their business, then they make progress on it through coaching, and make progress on it in a way that they can't do on their own necessarily. So, that's pretty special thing to be able to create. And my mind at the moment especially goes to leaders who are, they're just not stopping. They're not able to pause. Everything's sort of go, 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 and the task list is long, and there's so many things to juggle personally and professionally. And we've
And the
really not.
external environment is constantly changing, and the pandemic on top of all of that. There's just so many different variables.
Absolutely, and that's, you have to stop and acknowledge that is a lot of pressure for leaders to be under. Whether they're leading teams or projects, or they're leading whole organisations, that's a lot of pressure, and it requires some support in various forms, and coaching is an exceptional way to support them. And I think one thing that we hear back from leaders who've experienced coaching is that they're able, through that sort of stopping and reflecting, thinking things through differently with their coach, they actually build up a habit. They build up a cycle of doing that for themselves. That means that when the coaching engagement ends, they've got that habit, that cycle built as part of their sort of BAU, and the benefits that they take from investing that time and thinking things through differently plays out in a variety of ways, not just in the coaching engagement, but well and truly afterwards. So, I think that really important at times like this, that we're able to do that and work not just harder, but work smarter, and to work in a more sustainable way, one that looks after not just our performance and the organisation's performance, but also, as you said earlier, looks after our well-being too. I was wondering if I could share a bit of a story with you. If we have a moment. So I caught up with an old friend of mine on the weekend, and this is somebody who holds a senior leadership position and is facing some incredibly complex challenges at the moment, whilst also driving a quite a big change agenda through the business. And she was describing to me, we weren't talking about coaching at all, but she was describing to me how she went for a walk on the weekend prior, took the dog for a walk. And as she was just sort of walking along, she started to realize all of a sudden that she was thinking of all these new ideas, and she started planning sort of more strategic pieces, longer term things that were sort of coming up. And there was all work related things. And she returned home all kind of buzzing and quite a different energy, and jotting down notes and getting quite excited about the things that had popped up during the walk. And what she noticed was that she'd gone from being consumed and thinking about operational tasks and the to-do list and what was sort of right in front of her and felt most important, to then actually focusing on things that were truly important that she'd been neglecting, not investing the time into. And and I was like, that's what happens in coaching. Like I was getting.
Did you coach her without her knowing?
Well, this is the thing. So we can do so much of that on our own. And then when I think about, well, what's the difference with coaching? I actually think that we're creating those moments for leaders, but we're doing it on steroids. So it's coaching is
moments on steroids. I like it.
In the wrong kind of way. But coaching
not
coaching
real.
Really, no, won't go there. But coaching, to me, coaching is it is that shift in thinking, but it's an accelerated version of what my friend was describing. It's that times 10, times 100, and it's it happens in the session, but it happens between sessions and well and truly after. So, I'm thinking, well, if that was valuable, really valuable for my friend, and valuable enough that she wanted to share it with me while we caught up on the weekend, then I think, well, what is it that, how can we provide access to that for more leaders? That they're able to have that sort of moment, that different type of
light bulb
thinking.
Moments more often.
Yeah. How do we do that? So you know, and I think it is about really, I'm very, very passionate about coaching being just one way that we're able to establish that reflective practice, that habit within a leader's sort of typical working day, you know, week or month, so that it becomes a little bit of a remedy of sorts, you know, because it is a different pace. It's a more open, creative, exploratory sort of conversation. It can be really challenging, super challenging. It can be a counter to the relentlessness and the busyness of our everyday working lives, and it also can be a circuit breaker on, you know, operating on autopilot.
Yeah.
But the other thing, which because I haven't spoken about the second piece, sorry, I'm sharing a lot. You can tell I get pretty excited about this sort of stuff. But the other one,
Through. I love it.
that gets me thinking about another comment that we've seen a leader share in our coaching evaluation, which is they said, and I'll find the quote. So they said, I valued every session and walked away feeling invigorated, inspired, and ready to implement new thinking. So we
Mm.
can hear in that the leaders' energy really shifted. So their mindset's different. They see their world and their challenges with new perspectives. So, you know, you get a real sense of there's this momentum to move towards something new, to move towards something different that they really, really want and they get excited by. So, you know, that to me is a superpower in, you know, in leadership. You know, if you're able to cultivate that sort of energy, focus and clarity to move towards something that you really want, it's the right thing for you, your team and the organization, then that's a superpower to me. But the second scenario we haven't spoken about, which was that other application or the other lens of coaching, which is just as valuable, is where a leader takes a coaching approach in the way that they lead their own teams and the organization. So, you know, less of that sort of formal structured working with a coach, but rather taking a coaching approach themselves and how they go about their work. So, and I think that is just as equally a superpower. And I think it's because of the results that it gets. And by results, I don't just mean the impact on the bottom line, but it's also about, essentially, really, we're talking about leaders being more present in their everyday conversations and actively listening with curiosity, withholding judgment in their conversations and their relationships with others, you know, and in doing so, really being able to tap into the potential and bring out more of the potential within individuals and teams and within the broader system. And, you know, if we're able to do that, then that surely is, to me, a version of a superpower for leaders. But yeah, I feel like I feel like I
No,
could go
no,
on
please
and
go
on.
ahead. This is perfect. You know, obviously 2020 has been such a tumultuous year and on the back of pandemic and so much that has happened, you know, at a macro level. You know, I wonder how you've sort of observed coaching as a superpower let's just focus on 2020 and the challenge that it has brought to leaders and organizations. How have you seen the superpower at play?
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, what a year. Hey, it's been crazy. And, and it's not over yet. So who knows what else is coming. But yeah, it's an interesting one because, and I was chatting to a few of our colleagues recently about this and looking back over the, 2021 years that IECL's been operating. And what we can see is that in times when there is economic stress and there's a lot of pressure on businesses, if we think back, GFC time and 9/11, we see that, and we've IECL experienced over time that coaching tends to increase, the activity tends to increase. So I know you and I were talking about this the other day, that, how fascinating it is that we saw an increased demand in coaching if we look at, sort of March to end of July, through, compared to last year, the same period last year. It's fascinating that we've seen an upward trend in coaching, and demand for coaching. So, I think when we discuss why that is with our clients, they tell us that, of course, in times like these, organisations need to cut back on spending. They need to, make sure that if they're spending things like L&D budget, then it's being spent wisely. But I think why coaching tends to be a focus, particularly in 2020, is because leaders need more support than ever when the times get tough. You know, so coaching becomes this targeted intervention that, you know, it's applied for leaders so that they can get help on what they need help on when they need it. You know, and that's essentially why it continues to be a go-to for organisations when they're being much more selective about where they spend their money. You know, just that targeted, you know, sometimes a just-in-time intervention. You know, so we have noticed a bit of a shift towards some shorter, sharper coaching engagements. It might be, you know, say fewer sessions or shorter sessions. They're, of course, delivered virtually. So that's something that, you know, of course, we're doing 100% of the time now. And, you know, when organisations are working, you know, everyone in them is working really, really hard. Unfortunately, the reality is just to survive, you know, really to try and get through this time and to see what's on the other side. Then, you know, coaching is a great vehicle to help people feel supported, continue to be developed, and to get through this period in the best possible state they can. And so, you know, our clients are telling us that coaching is a really wise investment for them at this time. So because it gets the results, and it's not just obviously ICL saying it. There's lots of evidence out there that shows that coaching gets great results, as you said before, in terms of performance, but also well-being. And you know, it's the thing about coaching is that we're not working with people on things that are easy to solve, and there's not a lot of things that are easy to solve at the moment. You know, it's complex, the future's uncertain, people are really struggling. You know, with knowing what the future looks like. And so, you know, when leaders bring those difficult things to coaching, you know, so maybe they're things that they feel stuck on somehow, where they need a breakthrough, where they want to take some different action, but they're not sure how, you know, that's great. Like, bring those difficult things to coaching, like, you know, bring them and make it the focus of the coaching conversation so that you can get that real breakthrough. And that's what organisations want to be providing to their leaders at the moment, is that sort of opportunity for that sort of thing. But it does remind me too, when we think about 2020, there was an article that might be of interest to some people, lots of them actually, but the one that comes to mind at the moment is an article that was written, it was published in May by McKinsey, and it talked about, you know, that for organisations to emerge stronger through this COVID crisis, then they need to start reskilling their workforces now. And the article, if anyone wants to find it, it was from the 7th of May this year, and you can find it obviously on McKinsey's website, their articles. But McKinsey talked about, and let me just find the details, I'll get it. So they talked about, they were very clear about some critical areas that organisations should be investing in right now. And they identified four key areas. And so first one was digital. Second one was higher cognitive, the ability to, you know, think in a different way, social and emotional skills. And the final one was adaptability and resilience. So we, ACL, don't do the digital piece, but if you want to speak to our mates at Growth Ops, I'm sure, obviously we're part of the broader group, they can help with the digital upskill. But if we look at those other pieces, and if we think about, you know, cognitive skills, for example, being problem solving, creativity, innovation, you know, McKinsey is saying they're the things that are required to take on the challenges when the environment is rapidly changing and business models are rapidly changing. You know, we know that problem solving, creativity and innovation is an outcome of coaching, you know, whether it's in a formal or informal sense, you know, having a coach or taking a coaching approach, we know that problem solving, creativity and innovation emerges. So tick. Then, you know, strength, then the second one around strengthen social and emotional skills. McKinsey talk about that being in aid of effective collaboration. So, you know, despite the distance, despite people, you know, working in a new virtual way, you're right.
Yeah, I'm good.
You know, people still need those interpersonal skills to be able to make sure the relationships remain strong. And, you know, so we know time and time again when we look at the outcomes of our coaching engagements, improve relationships. Relationships are stronger as a result.
Mm.
Whether it's an identified focus area or goal of coaching or not, we know that relationships improve as a result of coaching. And then
Absolutely.
finally, they highlight the last one being that adaptability and resilience skills. So they highlight that, more than ever, self-awareness, self-confidence, self-reliance are the things that people are going to need to be able to translate the new experiences, everything they're going through right now, into a source of learning.
Mm.
And
Mm.
coaching is a learning conversation. IECL's approach to coaching is it's an adult learning. It's a learning conversation. So, we're absolutely noticing a shift in self-awareness and self-confidence as a result of coaching. So, as I read through that article, I was like, wow, there's just such a lovely correlation between the recommendations that
Tick, tick,
McKinsey and
tick.
others are
That's right.
making, yeah,
Yeah.
and the benefits that leaders are deriving from coaching. So I think that when you look at all these things, they sort of fit really well together in terms of the investment being a wise one at times like this. Yeah.
Mm. Absolutely. When you see all these benefits, obviously organizations are scrutinizing every dollar that's being spent right now. But when it comes to investing in your people, it's not a question. It's a must, you know. So let me
Absolutely.
ask you this aspirational question. This superpower. What if everyone had this superpower?
Gee, I
What
wish they
would
did.
it feel like? I
I
know,
wish they did.
right?
Yeah. Obviously, I'm a little bit one-eyed, but no, I think, and that's, really when we think about IECL's aspiration, it's not just what I'm really passionate about, but it's IECL's aspiration as well, that we are all about making sure that every leader has access to world-class coaching. And, we would love everybody to experience that superpower of coaching, whether they build that capability within themselves or they're on the receiving end of somebody who has those skills and has that approach and mindset. Then that's the work that we're doing right now, particularly and not just through our own coaching programs, but of course through the work that our incredible alumni do all over the world. Thousands and thousands of people who've been trained by us now are out there doing just that. And so, I think, wouldn't that be, if we could, take that to the next level and make sure that everybody had access to this superpower, then wouldn't that
The
be
ripple
wouldn't
effects
that
would
be
be also.
awesome? Yeah,
Absolutely.
because I think, and for anybody that might be sort of listening in today and isn't quite sure exactly what that might look and feel like, I think, if we even just think of it in simple terms, but it's not easy, but simple terms in the sense that if coaching is a mindset and it's a set of skills, it's a process that enables better quality conversations, and those better quality conversations then generate better quality relationships, then that's the sort of world that I want to be a part of creating. Um,
Absolutely.
whether we're in
I
the middle of
agree
a
with
pandemic or not. Yeah,
you.
yeah. And so imagine if everybody did have access to it, and that meant that people were fully present. Those things I mentioned before, like fully present, less judgment, listening, asking some great questions,
Better
having,
relationships, stronger
yeah,
conversations, just so many benefits.
yeah, future focused, everything's, and even to simplify it even further, I think about our colleague John Raymond, who for got lots of great one-liners that I always remember. But I know John's always been encouraging leaders for years just to consider the impact and to watch what happens when you ask one more question instead of telling. So,
Mm.
in its simplest form, in those little moments,
Mm.
how do we sort of shift from telling people what to do to asking just one more question? So give that a go. That
Love
can be
that.
the little starting point for the superpower
Love
worldwide. But that, those little shifts, those little changes, all make a huge difference in the organizations that we create and the world that we live in.
There's been so many aha moments throughout this conversation. I'm just wondering, again, you've got me thinking, what's next? What's the next superpower?
Mm. Um, so there's been talk for quite a while now in the coaching industry and in terms of organisations bringing coaching approaches and coaching cultures into their organisation. There's been a bit of a theme of talking about team coaching, applying these coaching approaches not just to individuals but to teams and to groups, but particularly teams. And I think now is the time. When I look forward, I think team coaching and the various applications of it, again, whether it's that you're engaging an external team coach to come in and work with, one of your teams to take their good performance to somewhere really great, where you're actually creating a team that becomes a learning unit of its own, where they get really curious about the dynamic between them and how they function, not just what they do when they're unique, but their individual areas of expertise and their silos, but you actually get them functioning as a learning unit. I think that's one way that we'll see. It's happening now, but I think we'll see more and more and more of that. And that to me, I mean, that's just an incredible superpower for a team to have access to. But then also, if leaders take a team coaching approach when working with their teams, in order to be able to foster that elements of that for themselves. And I think, that's where we're heading. I don't see the individual coaching conversations going away. I think it's about what we're adding to that in terms of the various applications and really taking coaching to the next level. So I feel like that's the next superpower, is in the teaming space.
Love it. It's been such an insightful conversation, Renee. I've had so many nice little aha moments. I think one of the biggest standouts for me has been, in coaching, moments are created to foster new thinking. And I think you refer to it as moments, creating those moments on steroids. And that, coaching is a mindset, it's a set of skills, it's a process that enables better quality conversations, that in turn develops better quality relationships. For me, there's no doubt in my mind that coaching is definitely a really wise investment, especially at this juncture where organizations are facing myriads of challenges. Time and time again, we're seeing such great results from coaching engagements in terms of improved performance and, more importantly, well-being and, like you said, the quality of conversations and the relationships. Obviously, the benefits of coaching is not just limited to the individual. It has this ripple effect, to the team, to the organization as a whole, which not only improves the people side, the people capital side of things, but also the performance of the business as a whole. And I think the reality is, post-pandemic, no one really knows what this new normal is going to look like. So I guess the more reason why we need to invest in our people and really develop those core capabilities to create, an awareness and a readiness for what's to come, because no one really
Yeah,
knows what that looks like.
yeah, we don't. Yeah, no one. Yeah, no, as you say, no one really knows. But it's yeah, I think that adaptability, flexibility, resilience piece. It's that, what can we be doing to, just to really acknowledge that we do need to sometimes just stop and think things through a little differently, think things through together differently, and to be, to have that sort of, as you say, that readiness, that openness to whatever's coming next. But yeah, I think coaching, in its various forms is, as you say, it's that wise investment that just makes good business sense
It
right
really
now.
does. It really does.
Yeah.
Renee, thank you so much for your time. It's been
Thank
such a
you.
great experience having a conversation with you. And Mandy, thank you for moderating all the questions that have been coming through. Really
Yeah.
appreciate it. As mentioned, if anyone has any further questions, please don't hesitate to drop us a line in our DM. And I'm sure Renee or Mandy would be more than happy to answer all the questions. Thank you
Yeah.
very much. Have a
Yeah.
fantastic day. Thanks everyone for tuning in.
Thanks, Renee. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Renee. Bye.